So, you work for a living. Well, join the club. Just like me and you, millions of folks go to work every day trying to walk down that path towards our own small piece of the American dream. Every working day, you give your time and your effort, and you are well within your rights to have a few questions where your future is concerned. So answer me this. Do you know when you're going to get a raise? Do you really know for sure? Are your health benefits keeping up with today's cost of medical care? Are you putting aside anything for retirement? Are you getting any meaningful paid vacation or sick time? Is your job secure? All across the country, tens of thousands of service contract workers, very much like you, once were burdened with these same questions. And for them, the answers came by virtue of a collective bargaining agreement. An agreement that is the only way to increase wages and benefits without waiting and hoping for the next government wage determination. These workers know that with their union, the IBEW, they are better together.
Pizza?
Oh, okay.
David McManus is a maintenance electrician at Fort Carson in Colorado Springs, Colorado. David's situation may be much like yours. He's got a great wife and a couple of great kids. And just like you, for sure, he's got the usual assortment of bills, obligations, and concerns we all have. But something else David has is a secure and fair-paying job. You see, when most of the workers at Fort Carson went 5 years without a raise, they did something about it. They went union.
There are a lot of people that are apathetic to the union. I don't need the union. And the list goes on. For various reasons, their grandfather got slighted by some coal miners' union back in 1860. The reasons are numerous. But the apathy that's there's a cure for it. It's called tyranny, and you can take your pick. You can walk into your CEO's office and ask him for 3.5%. If he doesn't laugh you out of the office, I bet you he would most certainly fire you. Now, a union allows you the voice that's been taken away by large corporations, because now you become a large corporation. 95% of the assets on a government contract drive out a gate every day. All the company is a structure that you work within. They're making all of their profits on you. You have a right to fair and equitable pay, because with $38+ million a year contracts, how much of it is getting distributed throughout your collection of people on a contract? You have to ask yourself that question. What are you getting? You're trading every day your hours for dollars. Don't you want the most for it?
There are thousands of workers, regardless of their particular trade or job description, who feel just like David McManus. And those who determined they were better together and went union, whether years or just months ago, are happy they did.
As a collective bargaining agent, my union would definitely get a lot further, being the fact that they have professionals working for them, representatives working for them. They know how to negotiate. As individuals, most of us are lost when it comes to that, and the contractors know that. So that's why I like to have my bargaining agent as IBEW, because they do fight for what I need for my livelihood.
Right now we have like night shift differential, which we didn't have before. Our wages went up for our operators and rock bolt. Benefits is much better than before, and we have a lot more opportunities now than before.
Now that we've gone union, a lot of people are starting to come around. My co-worker in general, he was really against it there for a while, and then now that we have gone union, he's really for it because now he's got protection. And, you know, looking back on it, he said, well, he's just kind of antsy about it because he didn't want to lose his job or get into any trouble. But now, you know, that he's protected, oh, he's on fire about it, pretty much.
Well, just how did we get to this situation of haves and have-nots for service contract employees doing pretty much the same work from job site to job site? Well, the government has in recent years been hiring private contractors to perform work that it used to take care of itself at thousands of government installations across the country. When private contractors get the work, they pay their employees according to the Service Contract Act, a wage determination and benefit package set up by the government. But there are some problems with this picture. The highest benefit package an employee can get is $2.59 an hour. It's pretty hard to get quality insurance coverage at that low rate, and many job sites still pay less than that. Often, there's no allowance for sick days. Job security and dignity in the workplace can be a big issue. Your job and your livelihood are simply at the mercy of your employer. And the Government Wage Determination Survey is hardly updated on a regular basis, so you and a fair hourly wage fall through the cracks. What the IBEW can provide through the collective bargaining process is an outlet for workers who want some input in their future. Your collective bargaining agreement, or CBA, is the only way you can improve your situation at work. Phoenix, Arizona, a city that is no stranger to IBEW International Representative Steve Mullen. For more than 20 years, Mullen has worked with service contract workers, successfully helping them come together as a bargaining unit.
Usually workers, when they come to us, they haven't had a raise in 2 or 3 years. They have insurance costs that are skyrocketing, and the employer is under no obligation to deal with these employees unless they are certified as the bargaining representative for the employees. And it makes a big difference once we sit down and negotiate because we get wage increases every year. We deal with health insurance costs, and the workers have a true voice in their wages, benefits, and working conditions.
Bill Campbell, the fellow in the middle, is an IBEW organizer based in Colorado. Campbell and many of his colleagues across the country paint the same pictures.
Some employers oppose unions to a greater degree than others. We've had some that we've organized where there's been a lot of posturing on both sides, and the company has really worked hard to try and keep the union out. And with the company, they fear loss of control. And that really isn't the case. When we go in and organize a group, we like to I like to think of it more as a partnering relationship, and we feel that once a labor contract is in place, it brings about labor peace, and if there are issues that come up, and there always will be between labor and management, there's a peaceful way to resolve them.
It's apparently this fear of losing control that prompts many employers to steer you away from the union. They'll use all sorts of tactics, some of them on the fringes of the law.
If your company opposes the union, employees can expect some real resistance. A company may hire an outside firm to help them combat the union and give them advice on how to try and deter the union from coming in and representing the employees. The company can have captive audience meetings that employees are required to attend on company time, and then at those meetings they'll do everything they can to dissuade the employees from voting for the union.
Some of these videos presented by the company are very slick and they're very slanted. It makes it like this could be the worst decision that you could ever make in your life. But the fact is, even if the union doesn't get you anything, you still remain at the same wage level and benefit level because that's what the Service Contract Act requires. A lot of these employees have more protection than the regular employee. They are covered under the National Labor Relations Act, plus they are covered under the Service Contract Act. For example, one of the common tactics in an organizing campaign is for the employer to use is, if you vote the union in, you start from zero, a blank sheet of paper. Well, in fact, that is a false statement, because the area wage determination states this is the minimum amount that you can get paid. So only what we have seen over the years is, we are way above the area wage determination. Union workers usually earn 30 to 35% more than non-union workers. We have better health care benefits for the simple reason we can negotiate with the employer, and it's required to negotiate with us.
Okay, so, as you see, some companies take a neutral position and let employees make a decision on their own, and many more companies don't. But how do your coworkers feel about union representation? How do you feel? There are all sorts of misconceptions and myths where union representation and membership are concerned. Well, we obviously feel that being in a union is a great place to be. And if you take some time to really check us out, you'll come to the same conclusion.
Almost every campaign we go on, is that you will be out on strike. In fact, 98.6% of all contracts are settled without any strike interference. Dues, they say, why do you want to spend your hard-earned money on union dues when we can do this? But in fact, we're usually way above the area wage determination when we go into collective bargaining with the employers. And the employers understand that, so they want to keep their costs down. But the reality is they have no cost, because this is passed back to the federal government. It doesn't cost the employer anything.
Well, the company refers to the union as a third party oftentimes. We have an open door policy. You don't need a third party coming in here. You're welcome to come in and bring your issues to us. Then they talk to them about all the union dues they're going to have to pay and how much money union representatives make and anything that they can do to put the union in a negative light.
When we were passing out the sign-up cards, some of the folks were a little leery because they didn't like the idea of having to give dues. They figured it was more money in their pocket, not realizing that the union made sure that their dues would be covered in the raises that they negotiated, so we would still walk home with more money in our pocket. But that was the biggest challenge, was a lot of folks figured that the union was going to take away more of their money in dues, but it was not true at all.
People felt the unions were dishonest and corrupt, but under the scrutiny of the government now, there's no way. And we found the IBEW to be above board straight shooters. I'm thrilled with them.
Everybody, first of all, needs to understand that there's a misconception. They think a union is this group of outsiders that's coming in, when actually it is just some union reps that are elected positions by other union members. Basically, they just come in and guide the unit itself, the group, into going into negotiations. The actual union, when they point a finger and say the union's this and the union's that, the union is the workers. And the workers unite into a bargaining unit of the union. So they try to make us like a third party when it's actually the employees themselves.
Another somewhat common point of union resistance comes from ex-military workers. Workers who already have solid benefit packages due to their years of service.
The hardest thing for me going through this whole process was to get people to sign cards that were ex-military. People who had 20 years in the military, they had their benefits. They had their retirement already. This was just an extra income job for them. They didn't see the point in having the union and having to pay dues and all that. They didn't look at the big picture of the people who, let's say, a single mom out here who didn't really have the insurance and needed the money and needed the insurance and stuff like that. Instead of looking at just everybody, just looking at himself, That was my biggest blocker, I would think, out here.
I'm a military dependent, so I still get the free military medical and dental care. But I do know that the folks that didn't have that connection are spending anywhere from $400 to $600 a month for their family outside of for medical care, and not to mention the co-pays and all the rest of that stuff. So they would also like to get a good medical and dental program. And it doesn't hurt the rest of us either, because if we decide that the military isn't servicing our needs, then we can go through the union and get a good program that way.
I was raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Pittsburgh is a union town. Steelworks, railroads, and whatnot. And I understand the unity required by labor to keep the working people at a decent standard of living. And that includes health care and not just wages. There's many things involved. I also believe that that we have to look beyond our own personal likes and dislikes and whatnot. We have to look for everybody. We have to try to help everyone we can as far as organized labor is concerned. Prime example is the outsourcing of jobs in this country right now. The International's against it, and thank God, because we need to keep the jobs here. But on our own little union at Northwest, we wanted a little more job security. We had contract negotiations coming up. The wages were low. We have a wage improvement. We've got good job security now. And that was pretty much it at the start.
It's the idea of lifting all workers that gave rise to the IBEW, and indeed all labor unions many, many years ago. It's a concept that lives on today.
We have a lot of folks on our workforce that really don't understand what unions are and what unions do. But they like the pay raises every October. They like the fact that if they get themselves in trouble or they might be in trouble, that somebody's going to speak up for them. I think as a general rule, most of the workforce, especially the old-timers like myself that were pre-union, those are the guys that carry the torch. Those are the guys that really know that, hey, it's important that we have this and it's important that we keep this.
Before I came to work here, I didn't know anything about the unions. I've never been a member of the union. But in being one now, I can see where it benefits us to have it. It protects our jobs, so to speak, against unjust disciplinary actions. We have better pay wages with the union. We have better benefits.
A guy going in on his own is putting his job on the line. You know, actually, when he go in and talk to the boss on his own, he doesn't have no backing. With the union, you know, at least you got somebody standing behind you.
Yeah, I feel better about being a union guy. Before, my brother is not a union person, and I've grown up not being a union person, and this is my first time being in a union. But I've noticed more benefits than not benefits, basically. I just like it as a whole.
And the whole thing that I think people in this country are forgetting is you are the union. You're it. You make your own conditions. And if you don't make your own conditions, you're going to live by ones that are set forth by companies that they create for you.
From coast to coast, thousands of service agreement workers, just like you, have taken an active role in determining their own future. They've moved forward with the IBEW. They've improved their lives because they've decided they're better together.